welcome to First and Filoni. This is our week 9 episode, our 11th of the season here. We're just over halfway. Some things have shaken out here, and we have some clear-cut favorites now. We know who the pretenders were of the early start of the season. But joined as always, my co-host here, Andrew Cooper, who dominated me last week, 7-3 to another 5-5 record for me. Not doing too hot, but you seem to be getting the mojo back. How are you feeling, man?
No, I'm good. Just need
Just
to put it
another year
together.
older?
Yeah, just another
Yeah.
year older. Thank you for all the birthday wishes to everybody.
Of course, I let you win that week last week because of your birthday. So let's
Yeah,
just put that on.
I'm
Let's
sure you
put that
did.
on record. But we'll go ahead and get started. We got a full slate here. People are starting to have their buys, and then we're starting to get into the end of conference play. So a little bit less games to pick, but we still have 10 to pick here. But we'll go ahead and start off. I know you didn't watch much college football last week, but I'm sure you watched some of the highlights. Did you have a game of the week or stat line of the week that you want to highlight for the folks?
Yeah, I think just from watching just some games on replay, I think my game of the week was probably the Oregon game.
Oregon?
Yeah, Oregon UCLA. I thought Bo Nix came out, and for some reason he looks like the old Bo Nix.
Yeah, he's actually, after the first week of the season, he's had a resurgence and he's just been on fire. Now, is that the Pac-12 or is that Bo Nix, who actually, if you watch the game, like you said, actually looked really good?
I don't know, man. He completed some nice passes. I mean, I'm talking. Well, I think he had like a 55 or 56 yard bomb right over top of
Right.
the middle, beat the safety.
Yeah.
I mean, he dropped a dime right in the receiver's hands. But I mean, just the way he read that defense, and he got the defense to think that he was going to his right. He quick passed to the left. I mean, he looked good.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I'm with you 100%. He looks great. Um, I think that UCLA were pretenders all year round. I don't think Chip Kelly can replicate what he's done in Oregon at UCLA. I hope he gets another chance because that football is fun to watch when he gets those athletes. But with the emergence of the SEC since he's been gone, all the 5 stars are going to Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia, Florida. They're going to the southern schools right there. If I had to pick a game of the week, I had 2 of them in mind. Um, yeah, I'll be the Big 12 homer here. Oklahoma State and Texas. I thought that was a really good game. I got to watch the first half of it. Both offenses were electric. Bad call on the muff punt by the referees, but in the end, ball doesn't lie. Oklahoma State won. I think we could have seen that at the Big 12 championship game if Quinn Ewers didn't get hurt and early on. But the other game, TCU versus Kansas State. Kansas State was up 28-10, I think it was at one point. I'm like, okay, smooth sailing. Like, let's go. My pick or our picks are solid. And then all of a sudden, boom. The quarterback gets hurt, which I'll talk about later, actually, in the next question. Quarterback gets hurt, and then TCU goes on and blows and has a really, really good game. So with that being said, the next question, I sent them to you earlier this year, but we'll go over them. And I think they're kind of questions that need to be answered now. Is TCU the real deal? What are your thoughts on TCU? They're undefeated in the Big 12. They've beaten some historically good teams. What are your thoughts here?
Um, Man, I kind of have to say, yeah. I think what is it, Max Dugan or Duggan?
Mm-hmm.
He's playing really well. The thing I like about them that I've noticed is they don't give up. Whether they're down 10 or 17 real quick, they still play hard nosed football. Um, who do they got left on their schedule?
I can look it up for you.
I know they got Texas coming up. Isn't that their rival?
They got Texas coming up. They are playing West Virginia this week, which who knows which West Virginia team we're gonna get. Um, They have Texas Tech in 2 weeks, which Texas Tech all of a sudden decides they want to play some offense. Holy smokes, did they roll West Virginia? So they got West Virginia this week, TCU next week, Texas the week after, Baylor the week after, and then Iowa State, who's always tough too. Like they got a pretty difficult schedule coming up. Not saying that anybody in the Big 12 really has an easy one because everybody seems like the real deal except for Kansas now that they're starting quarterbacks hurt. So they got a tough schedule, but can they win out? Yeah. Why not, right? But I'll let you finish your thoughts and then I have a hot take on them.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think they could win out, but you still can't afford to get down quick like that in games. That's my only issue that I have with them is they get down sometimes a little too fast, and then they're playing from behind.
Yeah.
And then the sense of urgency is going to start kicking in. Then that's when your quarterback's going to start making mistakes.
Yeah. So my hot take with TCU, and I kind of hinted at it towards in the game of the weeks. If you look at the games that they've played, each team that is the good teams versus Oklahoma State, Spencer Sanders was hurt versus Texas, or not Texas, Oklahoma, Dylan Gabriel got hurt. If you look at Kansas, I think they played Kansas. Yes, they played Kansas. Their starter quarterback got hurt and their backup got hurt. They can't win unless they're playing the backups. So do I think they're a good team? Yes. Do I think Sonny Dykes or Sonny, whatever his name is a good coach for him? Yes. I don't think they're the real deal yet. I think they lose 2 games the rest of the way. And that's not including the Big 12 championship game if they make it. That's my hot take because I think Quinn Ewers is going to throw all over them, and Texas actually has a decent defense if they decide to play. West Virginia came back and beat Baylor, and Baylor's offense I think is just as good as TCU's. Max Duggan and Blake Shapen I think are comparable. TCU might be a little bit better, but I mean, who knows which West Virginia team we're going to get. Iowa State, they play a slow game, and can TCU play a slow game? I don't know. So I don't think they're the real deal yet. That might just be me down on them for them beating Oklahoma State. But I want to say they're the real deal, but they haven't played a solid quarterback for a full game. They've always gotten hurt either before the game or during it. So we'll see. Maybe they'll shut me up in 2 weeks and Quinn Ewers will not play well. But we'll move on to another team. If they're the real deal, another undefeated team in the ACC this time, Clemson. Are they in trouble or are they the real deal? They were down 21-10 at halftime at home versus a pretty decent Syracuse team. But then came back to 27-21. Not
Dude, you're not beating the refs. You're not beating Clemson and the refs in Death Valley.
Yeah. I mean, Cade Klubnik came in the second half because DJ wasn't doing well. So do they have a quarterback controversy on their hand? Dabo said no afterwards. But I mean, you're the ACC expert on this one here. Is Clemson, are they in trouble? And if you don't think they're in trouble, if you think they're the real deal and they make the playoffs, are they going to compete in one of the games?
I mean, it's hard not to say that they aren't the real deal because their record speaks for themselves. I mean, they've actually played some really good defenses. And the thing with Clemson is they get freaking lucky.
Right? Well, Will Shipley's balled out the last 2 weeks too.
Oh yeah, I mean, kudos to him. I mean, he's running his heart out. But I mean, dude, how much more luck can they possibly have? I mean, you got. I don't know exactly who they got left. I think they got Notre Dame this weekend.
They have Notre Dame. No, that's the only team that's any count.
All right, and then you got a sneaky South Carolina game at the end of the year for the rivalry.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
So I don't know, man. They're good. Don't get me wrong, but like I said, DJ had a bad game. He's looked good all year up to this point.
Yeah, he has. He shut me up. He shut me up at the beginning of the year for sure.
Oh yeah, but I do think after what we saw with him getting pulled in this last game, his leash has gotten really short.
And that takes a toll on a quarterback too. Like how much of a
Oh, that's
mental
mentally.
how much mentally
Well,
tough
you
can he
have to
be?
mentally. Yeah, I mean, you have to mentally prepare week in and week out, and especially when you think you're playing good as you are all year, and then you got, a freshman quarterback coming in behind you, you know,
Right,
like a pack of beagle dogs running the buck. I mean, you got to stay on your game.
right.
So,
It
like I
just
said, it just all depends to me where his mental, shouldn't say
yeah.
mental health because he doesn't, you know what I'm trying to get at. His
Yeah,
mental
where's his
side
head
of
at?
things has to
Where's his
stay
head at?
true.
Where's
Yeah.
his head at?
I mean, if that was me, I
It'd get
mean,
in my
yeah,
head.
I'd be a little bit worried. Oh
I'd be
yeah, I mean, how
rattled
could it
for
not?
sure. So
But
no, I
like I
agree.
said, if they do make it to the playoffs, they're not making it through the first round. No.
Yeah, that was gonna be my next thing is they go up to an offense like Tennessee's. Now, Tennessee's defense is better than last year. They're not good. But they go up to a Tennessee or Georgia or I mean even in Oregon, I think might be a good game as like a 5 versus 6 matchup if they don't make the playoff. I would love to
Oh,
see Bo Nix versus DJ. I
oh
think that'd
yeah.
be a great game. Um, but I have trouble kind of their offense isn't explosive. Will Shipley, he's a workhorse. He's
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 the
a
spark plug.
he's a workhorse. He doesn't have explosive speed. He doesn't have explosive strength. He does what he needs to do. He gets the yards, and that's it. Name another offensive weapon they have. You can't. They got
They
nobody
got
in the transfer
oh yeah,
portal.
bull crap. They
They
got
lost their
they got
receivers.
Bo Collins. They got Bo Collins. They got Bo Collins on the outside. They got Maffa. That's the backup running back to Shipley.
Maffa's good.
Who's that
Maffa's
other?
good. I'll
I
give him
can't really
that. I'll
pronounce it.
give you that.
I can't really pronounce his last name.
Yeah, but what I'm
Bo
saying
Collins.
is,
He's always he.
out of the major teams that we have left, I guarantee you. All right, so we'll say Collins. He's a receiver, right? Collins. Would you rather have
Yeah.
Collins or would you have Jalen Hyatt?
Oh, Jalen Hyatt all day.
Would you rather have Collins or the receiver from TCU that's eluding my mind? He's phenomenal. I
Yeah,
don't
but
think
I
it's a
feel like
question.
it's not a question, but Clemson's played better defenses than what TCU
That's fair.
has, though.
That's fair. That's fair. That's
So I
very fair.
mean, if let's say TCU's receiver gets 7 receptions for 149 yards, and let's say Bo Collins is going up against Notre Dame, even though Notre Dame's not all there, but we all know that defense wins a game.
Yeah.
All right, let's say he racks up 10 catches for 89 yards and 2 touchdowns. I mean, I'd rather have that because he has that experience against that elusive defense.
Yeah, I mean that's fair. I just don't think their weapons are comparable to years past and comparable to the top teams that they have.
Oh
But
no, they have definitely
um
fallen a little bit on the cliff.
yeah, it's just I mean they have a couple people coming in next year, I think, with their classes, but um it's just it's not your typical Dabo team, which is kind of scary, kind of sad to see because they had such a good run there for a while. But I'm not saying that they're dead. They're undefeated. They have one of the best defenses in college football. Like they have 3 other defensive linemen are going to be in the top
Yeah,
10 picks of the draft.
and they
Like,
shut Syracuse out in the second half.
yeah, they did. And granted, Syracuse only good players, their tight end and their running back outside their quarterback, but still. Um, And then the last little kind of questionable team is South Carolina. They're quietly 5-2. Spencer Rattler, as much crap as we gave him at the beginning of the year, him and Shane Beamer are leading a pretty decent team in the SEC here, and South Carolina is quietly contending and doing well. I was looking up records and scores from last week, and I saw that, and I was like, what? Where did they come from? Like they're 1 win away from a bowl. They played well last year under Shane Beamer for the first year. Um, has South Carolina reached the scene yet, or is this kind of just a fluke run?
No, I think now that Beamer's starting to get some of his players in, I think it's starting to cusp the peak. But you got to think Rattler's coming back next year, so I think next year is going to be their year. But I mean, you got to remember too. I mean, if you
Oh, sorry about that, folks. We dropped for a second there. Yeah, Rattler's coming back next year for sure. And that's
but like I
having a
said,
second year quarterback
if
is
you're
always good.
playing good, and if you're playing good ball and you're hot, you're hot.
Yeah.
I mean, they're playing pretty good teams in the SEC every week.
Yeah, I mean, I think Auburn's on the downward slide. Ole Miss has kind of shown us that they're not a team, which makes me think Lane Kiffin's going to go to Auburn next year if that job opens up.
Let me ask you this. That was another thing I wanted to ask before we got into the picks. How much longer is Auburn going to pull their coach around with the firing thing?
I don't know. Everybody knows he's gone at the end of the year. They have a new AD this year, or it's either this year or start. I think they're starting next year as the new AD. So, um, it's inevitable. I think they should do it now and start the search, um, for the coach like early, and so they can get their name in there. So like they don't lose up on Matt Rule. Maybe could have been an option, or Iowa State's
Matt Campbell.
Matt Campbell, Aranda from Baylor. He could be thrown in there. That's a better job than Baylor. I mean, Deion Sanders. Could you see him at Auburn? That would be great. Just for him to stick it to Florida State even further. Like, I mean, Scott Frost. Like, yeah, he didn't do a good job in Nebraska, but you're very down on that program anyways, just because of where it's at. Like geographically. Like, I mean, there's Manny Diaz in Penn State. He can come back. He's coming and having a resurgence. There's just so many options there that I think they need to do it earlier, just to kind of. I mean, Chip Kelly. Why can't Chip Kelly go there? If Chip Kelly goes there and then he can get the recruiting pool that he wants to get, that'd be a scary place to have Chip Kelly success.
I think he stays at UCLA.
He likes the West Coast. I mean, that's fine.
Oh yeah.
But I just miss the old Chip Kelly days when we had DeAnthony Thomas running all over everybody.
Oh yeah.
Okay, cool. So let's go ahead. Let's get into the picks here. We do have 10 games. We'll start off with the Thursday game, and we'll have boots on the ground in Raleigh, North Carolina, as the Virginia Tech Hokies travel to North Carolina State. NC State is favored by 13.5. Backup quarterback is starting for that game, but it is a night game in Raleigh. Last night game in Raleigh was the Texas Tech game, and that defense showed out.
Yeah, I been on the fence of this for the past 2 weeks. I think the only thing that's going to help us this week is a night game at Carter Finley. You got the black jerseys coming out this week with the white pants and white helmet, which is going to look pretty sweet under the lights. 13 game home winning streak. I've got NC State, but it's not going to be pretty.
You're winding yourself up for a classic Corso, not so fast there, buddy, because you're saying all the things, a home streak, a night game, the black jerseys. I can see that it's really been eating at you. What concerns me about this game is we don't know which
I know
Virginia
what
Tech,
you're going to say.
we don't know which Virginia Tech team's going to show up. It's not the Virginia Tech of old, but Pry's got to win some kind of game, some kind of big game down the stretch for him to continue to even gain a little bit of momentum for next year. Earlier we were talking on the phone and we looked up some rushing stats, and NC State's leading two rushers are at 304 and 299 yards, and that is Dumo's in second
Houston.
and Jordan Houston's in first. Jordan Houston 76 carries for 304. at a 4 yards per attempt, which isn't awful. Like that's right where you want to see an average running back. But Spencer Sanders for Oklahoma State is at 80 carries for 352 yards. So Spencer Sanders, a quarterback, has more rushing yards than anybody on NC State, and that is what concerns me. It's what we've been saying all year. They can't. It's not the days of the Jalen Samuels and the Gillespies. It's not those days anymore. Like, can Dumo, can Houston, can one of their younger running backs step up? I think they do. I think this is where we actually run the ball, or where NC State runs the ball. 12 and a half or 13 and a half seems like a lot, but I think NC State wins by a touchdown. That defense isn't going to let Virginia Tech score at all.
Yeah, and if
So
you talk,
they need to establish the run this game, though. If not, then their season is in jeopardy for a good bowl.
I can tell you right now, if they lose Thursday night, that fan base is done.
They
The
lose
Wake
Thursday
Forest
night.
game,
Do you fire Dorn?
no, they're not firing Dorn. Heck no. Been there 10
Does
years, but
Dorn leave to Nebraska? Because that's
no,
another name that
his
could
coach,
potentially go to Auburn.
his coaching, no. This is the way that I look at it. If I'm at another big time school and I go back and I look at his he cannot beat any program in the top 25. If he loses Thursday night, he's staying. His vacancy, all his credits and his points go down.
Yeah.
This was the year and this was the team that they all boasted about. This is all his players, all his recruits. No, he's going to sit where he's at until NC State gets rid of him.
Yeah.
Or unless he's starting to feel pressure and he takes another job somewhere else, but he won't last.
I hate to say it, but I think this game for the coach, I think NC State might have a new coach next year. I think if they lose this game, the seat's going to get a little bit warm because this was supposed to be the team. Yes, they lost Devin Leary, but even before that, there was questions about their offense. If he wins this, that shows he can do a lot with little. Does he go for a bigger payday? NC State's got a lot of money. Do they match it? So I think you could see two sides of the phone on that one. I wasn't thrilled with Dorn, but he has built a pretty good.
NC State ain't got that much money.
Yeah, but I'm one of those things where this is the time of the year where who I'd be calling if they're worried about a coach is Bill Cowher. Does he want to get back into coaching? Because that would be an amazing hire for NC State if that happens. But nevertheless, we'll move on from that game.
Just hire Torrey Holt.
Yeah, if we
Torrey Holt
or Phillip Rivers and all 17 of his kids can go. Yeah.
That's fine.
We'll go to the next game here on Friday. ECU at BYU. BYU's only favored by 3 points. They lost massively to Liberty last week. Who you got?
I got it. I hope that Uncle Mark won't kill me, but I'm going with the Greenville, North Carolina natives and the ECU Pirates. I'm telling you, I told you this at the beginning of the year when we barely escaped from them. They have a good program. Houston's building something there. I'm telling you, Holton Ahlers, I think this is his last year, but I got a feeling the ECU's going to turn some heads on this one.
Yeah, I have ECU too. What concerns me, it's at BYU. But after last week, no, I'm going ECU. I think ECU does it. BYU's fallen a lot from grace. Next game we have, we'll go to the Battle of Jacksonville. We got University of Florida at Georgia. It is in Jacksonville, so it's a neutral site game. They play it every year. I've been educated on that ever since last year. But Georgia is favored by 22.5 points. Georgia looks like they're back to normal. I believe both teams had a bye week last week. So they're both coming off buys. Is this an easy Georgia pick for you? Or do you think Richardson?
I'm picking Georgia.
That 22.5 seems like a lot.
Smart, man. Yeah, I don't think it's going to be 22 and a half. Georgia maybe by 17. I see it.
Yeah. I
But,
think this is the game that
you know,
Florida shows up with. Napier needs to have a good game for him to keep the team,
oh, yeah, without a doubt. But
to keep the
I
team
got
around.
Georgia winning this one.
Yeah, I do as well. I think Richardson shows up to play, and this is not only a game for Florida, it's a game for him for the NFL. Like if he has a bad game, he better not go to the draft. He better transfer out and go to another team because that kid from Ohio State transfer from last year from Florida is going to win the job over him. I think he could have done it this year before he got hurt. Um, we'll go. No, we'll stay in the SEC for this next one. We got University of Kentucky at Tennessee. Tennessee is favored by 12 and a half. Yet another home game and Rocky Top. Um, Hendon Hooker, Jalen Hyatt might be one of the greatest duos in college football ever. They're building on that season there.
Hey,
Um,
speaking of that, I read something today or yesterday. Did you know that Jalen Hyatt went to Blacksburg on an official visit to Virginia Tech when Hendon Hooker was a quarterback and spent time with Hendon Hooker while Hooker was there?
I didn't know that. I knew Hooker transferred from Tech, but
Mm-hmm.
well, so then the
Apparently,
roots
they
go
built a.
back.
Yep.
I think we're gonna see some more Tennessee crazies after this one. I don't see Will Levis. I think he's a good quarterback. I don't know if he has the team around him, and he's still dealing with the finger issue. I think Tennessee, and I think Tennessee big.
Oh yeah, I got Tennessee all day. Man, I really like Hendon Hooker right now.
I do too. He looks really good. Like, and he looks confident, which
Oh
is
yeah.
really scary. Um, Next we'll go to the Big Ten. Ohio State at Penn State. Ohio State's favored by 15 and a half. Last time a spread was this big on Penn State blocked a field goal and won at Penn State. I'm not sure if it's a whiteout. I thought last week was supposed to be, but I don't think it was. So they might have switched it to this week. If it is a whiteout in the way that Penn State played last week, I will put a trap game warning on this because Ohio State hasn't played anybody. They played Iowa, who has a pretty good defense, and they did well. Um, but Iowa, I mean, my left arm can throw better than their starting quarterback. So like they're garbage. Like I'm still gonna go Ohio State, but I'm gonna be rooting for Penn State for this one.
Yeah. For the record's sake, I'm taking Ohio State on this one.
I if it's a whiteout game, to be completely honest with you, if I do some more research and I find out it's a whiteout game, it's gonna be tough for me.
The only
I
thing that
think I think a
bothers
whiteout
me.
version is 10-point difference. Like I legit think that because I've seen it.
No, I mean without a doubt. But the only thing that concerns me is we saw what happened when they played Michigan.
Yeah. I
So
know. I
I
know.
just
I know.
I'm picking. I got Ohio State,
But Michigan
unfortunately, but I
Ohio
will be
State's
rooting.
offensive line isn't as good. But they do have better receivers and they have better running backs and they have a better
Uh,
quarterback. So I'm with you.
uh,
I'm with you on Ohio State. I'm with you.
don't get
But
me
I'm just
wrong. I'm pulling for Penn State.
yeah, and something in my gut is telling me that. But speaking of Michigan, we'll go Michigan State at Michigan. Michigan is favored by 22 and a half. Last year they were favored by 21 and lost. Um, so does that change your feeling about the Michigan Wolverines?
Nope. That
It
was
doesn't for
21.
me
This is a
either.
this is a dub deuce, baby. I'm going
Yeah,
Michigan.
Michigan State's team is awful. Like
I think they
awful.
gave up. They've given up.
Yeah. So I'm with you there. We've got a couple more games here left. I'll save the one. Well, so we'll go the last game and then we'll hit all the ones in the Big 12. Notre Dame at Syracuse. Syracuse is only favored by 2.5 points. Carrier Dome. Schrader looked good last week against a good Clemson defense, but whenever they double covered the tight end and the running back, they couldn't move the ball, aka the second half. I have Notre Dame winning this game. I'm picking underdogs again this week, Donovan. I hate this. but I think Notre Dame's defense wins it. They did not look good 2 weeks ago, but then they won last week. They looked pretty good again. Drew Pine, I think he needs to have this game if he wants to be the starter. I think their defense is not bad. So I think Notre Dame wins this game.
Who did Notre Dame have last week?
UNLV, nobody special. They beat them by like 20.
Oh man,
I
something's
mean,
telling me to
this
take.
is a toss up. This is a toss up game.
Something is telling me to take the orange. I'm gonna have to go with the orange in this one because it's in the Carrier Dome.
That's the only reason why I hesitate, to be honest with you. If it was at Notre Dame, I'd say Notre Dame big.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
But I think the coach needs this win. I think Notre Dame needs this win. Now, I think Notre Dame's going to be a lot better next year, especially with the
Oh
recruiting class that
yeah.
they have. They have like top 5 recruiting class coming in next year. Let Marcus Williams get his recruits in, but I think Notre Dame needs this win. Okay, so we'll go to a game that I haven't picked yet, and I wanted to hear your thoughts before I pick on it. Baylor at Texas Tech. Texas Tech is favored by 2.5 points. Now, Baylor last week looked absolutely amazing. Granted, it was a Kansas team that doesn't have a defense and starting their third string, fourth string quarterback who's a track athlete, not really a quarterback. But then Texas Tech made West Virginia look like an FCS school too. So this one's a toss up for me. I'm leaning towards one team, but I want to hear what your thoughts on it first.
Man, I had such high hopes for Baylor this year. They look really well
I think I
against
had
Kansas.
them number 2 in the Big 12.
Yeah. Where's the game at?
Texas Tech.
Yeah, that's going to solve my problems right there. Telling you, man, I
I
like
do
McGuire.
too. I do
I
too.
like McGuire. He's doing a good thing down there. I think he's got the kids believing. I said it a couple weeks ago.
What they're
I think they're
5-3
down.
or 4-3 right now? What's the record? Do you know?
I don't know off the top of my head. I want
Let
to
me look
say
it up.
5-3.
I'll look it up. I'll let you keep talking while you're
But
doing that.
dude, I mean, West Virginia also looked good a couple weeks ago too.
When they beat Baylor, they
That's
beat
what I'm
Baylor.
saying.
But you
But
can't have
granted,
that college football logic, because if you had that college football logic, LSU might be one of the greatest teams of all time this year.
yeah. But I mean, do you? What's the best way to put this? Does Baylor build off what they did against a broken down Kansas team or Texas
Yeah,
Tech,
they're both
who's
four and
on?
three.
I got Texas Tech.
Is Donovan Smith back?
I don't think so.
Him and Blake Shapen basically have the same stats. Baylor has a better running back, but I think the way that they beat West Virginia last week, I'm going Texas Tech too. I I don't like how Baylor can do what they've done, where they put up a good game against Oklahoma State, then we're up by like 20 points and lose to West Virginia, which we don't know if West Virginia is any good either. Like, we can't say that West Virginia is bad. We can't say that they're good, because they should have beat Pitt. They didn't, and then it went downhill, and then they've beaten some really good teams. I'm going Texas Tech as well. That one was another coin flip game for me. I feel a little more strong with the other ones. But let's go ahead and knock these next two out pretty quickly so I can get to my locks. We have Oklahoma State at Kansas State. Kansas State is favored by 1.5. You already know who I'm picking, so
Yeah, go
I'm
Pokes.
going. I'm going go Pokes. Are you going Pokes as well?
Yeah,
I think Spencer Sanders is too much, and where I think they held Bijan Robinson for the most part in the second half pretty good. I think they do that again. Deuce Vaughn is a good running back, but he's not Bijan Robinson. And as much as Adrian Martinez is a good story, last week was his chance to solidify him as a good quarterback for me, and he didn't do it. So I got Oklahoma State. And then last game we had TCU who's favored by 7.5 points at West Virginia. Now, I had 2 trap games this week. This is a trap game for me solely because it is in Morgantown, West Virginia on Halloween weekend. And I think I just switched my pick. We are going Mountaineers. Like, let's go Country Roads. I'm picking it right now. Upset of TCU's in Morgantown Halloween weekend. Couches will be burnt.
Nah, TCU.
I regret picking that already. I just hyped myself up for no reason, Andrew.
You don't know what West Virginia team you're getting. TCU's been consistent.
Yeah, but they haven't played a good quarterback, and I think JT Daniels is sufficient enough.
Oh, shoot. Yeah. They ain't changing my mind. I got TCU.
All right. I got 3 minutes to decide if I want to change it back to TCU or not. But for right now, I have West Virginia. Let me go over some locks of the week. I went 4-1 on locks the last 2 weeks, so we are back up to a great winning record. Not saying that you should bet your money on gambling sites, but I've had a good run. Take what you want. Listen to other podcasts. Unnecessary Roughness is a great one by Barstool Sports. But I have Oklahoma State, Kansas State over 56. I have Ohio State, Penn State over 61. I have Tennessee winning by over 12.5 points versus Kentucky. I also have Tennessee, Kentucky over 63 points total. And then I have a surprising Georgia Tech plus 24 versus Florida State. I think that they'll be within that 24 points. That's a lot of points. And Georgia Tech looks pretty good, man. Georgia Tech is back. They're 3-4, baby, and they're cooking. They've beaten some good teams. So those are my locks of the week. We'll go over them one more time. Oklahoma State over 56. Oklahoma State, Kansas State over 56 total. Ohio State, Penn State over 61 total. Tennessee will win by over 12.5 points. Tennessee, Kentucky will score total over 63 points. And Georgia Tech will be within 24 points of FSU. I even might put that as a trap game just to try to be cocky, but I wouldn't pick money line. At least plus 24 there. All right. Well, do I want to switch back to West Virginia? Can you talk me out of this pick, please? Because
I already said what I had to say. You don't know what JT Daniels going to get. They look good against Virginia Tech. They look good against Pitt, but they can't ever seal it.
they beat Baylor.
Yeah, they beat Baylor, but I'm telling you, you do what you want. TCU staying hot.
Let me check to see. We got a minute left here of the recording. Let me see if I can find this game here quick. Because if I pick this and then you win out, then we'll be back to even as well. It's a Saturday noon kickoff. Ooh, I don't like that. Where's the money in this game? The 68% has TCU winning. I'm sticking with it. We're gonna stick West Virginia. I'll live and die by it. It's the dumbest pick. Don't listen to me on that one. Thank you guys again for joining. Andrew's already shaking his head. We'll have boots on the ground. We'll get a full story and recap of the Thursday night game, NC State, next week. Thanks again, and we will see you then.